You're listening to the Wealth Mindset Show, where Hixon Zuercher Capital Management's team of finance professionals, portfolio managers, and a life coach come together to tackle complex topics in finance and retirement planning so you don't have to. From investment strategies and wealth management to tax planning, retirement income, and aligning your money with your values and purpose, the Wealth Mindset Show offers the tools to thrive.
All right. Hey. Welcome to the Wealth Mindset Show, where our Hixon Zuercher team will have conversations on managing wealth, navigating retirement, and making smart decisions for a secure, meaningful future. I'm Austin Wilson, Director of Investments at Hixon Zuercher Capital Management.
And I'm Josh Robb, Director of Wealth Management here at Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. Today, we're joined with co-founder and CEO Tony Hixon, and also our Senior Wealth Advisor, Jessica Hinks. And so today, we're going to be talking about the concept of passing down wealth to your kids or heirs without spoiling or messing up their life and that legacy you're trying to pass on.
Can it be done? That's what we're going to be answering. So, but first of all, summer's wrapping up. We're finally getting to some cooler weather here in Ohio because I don't know about you, but I feel like it's been hot.
It's been warm.
We've had like a real summer. We had a real winter last year. We had a real summer. It was hot and humid this year. Kids all back to school, everyone.
Back in the swing of things.
Yeah, my oldest is back to college, so dropped her off last weekend, and starting her second year. It's going well for her.
Nice.
So I feel old.
Yeah.
I still got two at home, but
I got
okay.
One in high school, one in middle school, one in upper elementary, one in lower elementary. So
you're all over the place.
But the plus side is my oldest is driving, so he's taken three of the four riding together in the morning to school, which is a new concept. And,
nice.
Just a different stress level you have when a kid takes a car and leaves.
Mm-hmm. Your kid's not there yet.
No, but Allie did get into a new pre-kindergarten class with a brand new teacher, and I can tell she's going to be like a teacher pleaser. Some people call it a brown noser, I think. But she's just so eager to please her teacher and bring her homework home and show her teacher. Yeah. It's pretty cute.
Well, I know first day of school, my oldest daughter came home and was complaining because she had homework to do. Come to find out, she volunteered to be the first presenter in this project. Yeah. So that's why she had homework, was her own volunteering to be first.
Postpone it
she wanted to be first. So she self-inflicted, I think.
Mm.
Our oldest just turned 8, which makes, I don't know how that's possible because I'm still 24.
I know.
And so she turned 8. And so my wife has started Wilson Academy at the house again already for the year. And she sends me pictures of all the new fun things they're doing. I'm like,
is that what it'll say on their transcripts one day?
Wilson Academy. Oh, that's like my mom coined that because she's homeschooling my little brother too. So it's just the Wilson Academy. It could be a thing. We're going to get t-shirts.
Our listeners might think that Wilson Academy is a real place.
I know, they're going to Google it.
Start enrolling.
It's a real place in Hancock or Logan County. We'll have to see. So as we mentioned, speaking of kids, should they have money at the end of your life? Should they not? How's this going to work? How to pass it down without spoiling them? We're going to talk about a lot of things. An interesting statistic that, came up when we're doing some research for this episode is that 70% of the time, family assets, so think about assets that your family has accumulated for a long period of time, big chunk of assets, 70% of the time they're gone by the second generation, and 90% of the time they're gone by the third generation. And that was a 20-year project based on 32 families worth of data, and that is just an astounding 3,200 families. 3,200 families worth of data. That is an astounding statistic about how something isn't clicking, and why would that be?
Yeah. Now, that stat is believable, having been in this industry for a while and seeing kind of how decisions are made. I also know, this didn't give any dollar framework. So
True.
You could have inherited $50 and then that's gone by the second generation, rightfully so. They went out and bought lunch. But I see this trend, and I know Tony and Jess as advisors, we see this in that, and we're going to talk about this, there's a different mindset of earning the money and receiving the money and how you treat it. And that'll be what we talk about a lot.
And as far as why it happens, I think the biggest reason why it happens is just poor communication.
Yes.
People don't say what they want to be done with the money. And believe it or not, I think humans like being told what to do. We like directions. And most people I encounter spend the money the way they're told to, if they're actually told to.
Right.
So just, lack of clarity and assumed intentions just lead to not great outcomes.
For sure.
So I think as a starting point, we could say communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
Communication.
Make a plan, prepare, because maybe it's a good time to have discussions with your kids before you die, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be dollar related.
Right.
Setting the values in your intentions can happen at any age when they can start understanding those concepts. And you don't have to say, I'm going to be giving you X amount of dollars. You can just say, if and when we pass and you receive some money, here's some of the things I think would be best utilized for. And you can start the conversation without dollars involved until they're at an age where you think that would be beneficial for them to start knowing kind of where that dollar amount might land.
I think what's interesting is that I think the people earning the money assume that how they view the money, because it's their money, right? And we're going to talk about that in a second, but I think they assume that that's how the next generation is going to view money, but they're going to view it completely different. So it's like the first generation, maybe they came from modest beginnings. They earned all this money themselves. They worked hard for 30, 40 years. Then they persevered and, grew through that. They learned a lot of discipline. They learned a lot of resourcefulness, resilience through all this, but then they probably provided really well for their kids. And their kids probably didn't have to work for it as much, and they were given a little bit more help and all this other stuff. So they didn't have the same respect for the money that their parents did. And that only gets worse the next generation, right? Because their parents didn't even earn the money. So what do they think of that money? Well, it's just fluff, right?
Yep. And you see that, for instance, as my oldest son was learning to drive, I assumed he observed and absorbed certain driving skills and habits just from watching.
How'd that work out for you?
And that was not true.
Did you learn? Yeah, we learn what assuming makes you.
Right.
Yeah, no, assume.
Yes.
Playing games.
This is a family-friendly episode, so we're not going to say that.
But that's the point is, like you said, and they may say, oh, they're going to see my hard work values. Well, maybe by the time the kid actually starts paying attention, you're on the later phase and they see you spending and enjoying that hard work. And so they see mom and dad taking these good vacations and doing these things, all a result of their hard work. But by the time they start paying attention, they're being taught a different value.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, the assumption is the problem.
Right. So I guess question for my three colleagues here, because this is more your wheelhouse than mine. In what ways can we prepare those heirs or those people that could be receiving this money in order that they would do well with it, do what the people would intend for them to do with it?
Jess?
Well, I'm just in young kid mode because that's just the phase of life I'm living now. So you might have, I'd love to hear, Tony, your thoughts on young adults. But for little kids, when I was a kid, I had this little yellow combination safe and I actually knew how to turn it without the combination too.
Watch out.
You can hear the
clip.
My sisters had on different colors that I could open too. But I was in charge of my own dollar bills, right? I did little jobs, babysat various things, and I had my own bills in there I was responsible of, and I was solely responsible for how I spent it. No one checked up on me, asking me how I was spending it. It was my job, and inevitably, I just worked really hard. Maybe throughout the year, as a young kid, I'd save $100, and every birthday and Christmas, I would use my money to go get gifts for my siblings, right? So just give kids responsibility. Let them have their own tangible money to be in charge of.
Yeah, and the jury's still out on whether I got it right, but I do have a 19-year-old sophomore in college, and Carrie and I, my wife, implemented at a very early age, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years old, where they were able to earn a commission, not an allowance, where we just gave them money.
Yeah.
They earned their money, right, by doing chores, and a 4-year-old chore is not much, but nonetheless, once they got this commission, once they earned it, we were encouraged them and basically made them split it into four envelopes, and the first one was a tithe. So I'm a person of faith, and we believe that tithing to the local church is important. So we wanted to instill that value into our children. The second one was give. So give to what? We'll give to others. So if you're invited to a birthday party, or if, I tried to model being generous to the person behind us in a drive-through, so I would pay for their meal. So, hey, do you want to pay for their meal today out of your give envelope and things like that? And then next was save, right? So it was others first, and finally the third envelope got to them, where they're saving for what? For something, a bigger purchase. In a 4-year-old term, it would be like the doll or something like that. As they got older, it was more for a car and ultimately college education. And then lastly was spend, right? And so we had to define percentages of that, all that would get broken into. And I think hopefully the jury's still out. That may have instilled just the concept of others first, future next, future self next, and then spending on today. for currently. So I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we're still utilizing that envelope method even to this day with the two that are still at home.
And I think that's a great example of just starting a conversation at whatever level they're at, right? Is don't wait until they're an adult to start a conversation about money. You should be talking at wherever, I have a 16, 13, 10, and 7-year-old. They each have a different concept of money right now, right? The 7-year-old and the 16-year-old have different understandings of it. So how I talk and how I show it are different ways, right? Because, my 7-year-old, if we're going to the grocery store and they want this versus that, the conversation is, well, this is extra and here's why it costs more. My 6-year-old, he gets that already. But now it's a conversation of being a good steward, why you want to give and save and those different things. Whereas, my 7-year-old, none of it's hers, so they'll give it all away. Right. And it doesn't hurt them at all because they didn't, it's just extra money that they found.
They mature into that eventually. So.
Yeah. I think something that's important to instill is just the goodness of work. Because if you come from a family where you never have to think about working for everything because everything's given to you, then your work ethic's probably going to suffer for your entire life, right? And you're going to feel very entitled. It's going to cause a lot of problems, especially if you inherit a big chunk of money. But to always have some sort of a need for money, like your kids should probably have some way of earning $20, $30 here and there to help chip in on gas or whatever that may be. If they want to go to the movies with their friends, that's on their money.
Yep.
So they have to have some. It doesn't have to be. They don't have to make a living. But they've got to have some, go bale hay for every weekend during the summer, and that's how you make gas money. That's how I make gas money. And that's how, you kind of just learn a little bit about having money, but where it comes from. If you don't have that work ethic, I think it's very detrimental to the long-term thing there. So, yeah, just encouraging work all the time. Like, I went to college with a lot of kids who didn't have jobs during college, and I'm like, how do you buy things? They're like, my parents just I have a credit card. It's my parents' credit card. I buy whatever I want. I go out to eat. I go to the movies. I buy clothes. I'm like, what? You don't have a job? What do you do with all your time? And I just feel like they probably nowadays are having to learn the hard way what it actually takes to buy things. So I think
that credit card bill doesn't just get magically paid every month.
Where it just goes away. It goes back to zero. It goes back to zero.
I think too, trying to manufacture scarcity in your children's lives instead of they ask for something and it magically appears, because we want to be good parents, right? We want to provide all the things that they need and give them a lot of their wants too. But to restrain that desire and manufacturing that scarcity for them. Dumb example, but for instance, my kids would love to have Netflix. And we could have subscribed to all the streaming platforms without skipping a beat. It's easy to do. But we've said no, right? You can have the one and you'll be thankful and happy for what you have. And it's a very dumb example, but nonetheless, it just gives you an idea of how manufacturing scarcity.
It's not dumb at all because it helps them get the concept of choice. Right now, my kids probably think that we're broke and they think that shopping at garage sales is a luxury. But that's just like how my family grew up. It's how my husband's family grew up. But yeah, that's definitely a good perspective for the young kids side of things.
I think another thing that's important is communication. So just even at a young age, is the more you talk about money, the more it's not taboo. And I think for a lot of families, it is taboo. And if it is taboo, you're never going to have a really good relationship with it, especially with your parents or whatever, if you were to inherit money. So it's obviously going to look very, very different when your kids are 7, right? Than it is when they're 16. Than it is when they're 19.
Right.
Or when they're young adults and in their 20s and 30s and 40s, having families. So you can get pretty honest with your kids as parents. Hey, here's what our money situation looks like. We want to be on the same page with this going forward. It looks a little bit different before that, but the more normalized money becomes within a family, I think the better it is.
Yeah, just talking openly. Like if you're an older adult of adult children, tell your kids how you would like to see your money used. And if you are the adult child, ask your parents what they want their legacy to be. Because odds are you're probably part of that legacy. They just haven't told you it. They probably have unspoken expectations of you, which shocker, parents with unspoken expectations, right? Yeah, but just ask them, how can I make your legacy happen?
Yeah. You, the parent to the kid, are also freeing them up to do some of those things without guilt. Because you may say, I would love some of this money to help you be debt free. but they're afraid to spend that money to do something because they're not sure if that's exactly what you wanted.
Right.
But if you can be clear, they could actually do that and feel an excitement of I'm fulfilling kind of what that intention was. Instead of this, I hope this is right. I'm not sure. Maybe I won't do anything or spend it on the wrong thing because I'm just not sure what to do.
That does assume, though, that the parent knows the answer to that.
Yes.
So you have to think about if my child does that. If Eliana were to ask that question to me, I'd be like,
hey, Dad, how can I make your legacy a reality?
You're like, that's a bit morbid.
It's a hard question to answer, and one that I'm challenged to.
So I think that's the first step is, as the parents, what is our legacy that we would love to see? What are our core values, our principles that we can pass on, both financially and non-financial, that we would love our kids to carry forward?
Yeah.
Once that's defined, then you say, of that, how can they utilize wealth to continue that? And it takes some effort. It's not something that comes easy or naturally, I think, but it has to be intentional.
Yeah, have like a family mission statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always use a coupon, never buy a warranty. That'd be the Hinks.
That's a good one.
That'd be the Hinks.
Should get that tattooed right there. There was a Warren Buffett quote that I thought was really good. He said, so obviously billionaire, right? He's worth $90 billion, I think, something like that. He's in the top 10 richest people in the world. He doesn't really care about that at all. He lives in the same house he bought in the 60s or the 50s or something like that. He drives a 5-year-old Cadillac and eats a $3 McDonald's breakfast every day, which, by the way, it's amazing. He's 90
It's gotta be more than $3 now.
He's five. Drinks Coke all the time.
And eats McDonald's. And he's still kicking.
He's still 90-some years old. He is retiring 1/1/26.
Send him a book, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
The book I wrote, I signed it, Dear Warren.
Are you listening,
his
Warren?
second half might be a little shorter.
A little bit, but
you never know.
It was worth it.
But yeah, he said, obviously he could leave his $90 billion to his kids. And they could do whatever they want and they were nothing, by the way.
Good. Yeah.
And his quote was, leave enough money to do anything, but not so much that they can do nothing. So I think he has very aggressive goals on giving that money away and leaving them, of course, a lot of money in nonprofits to have some, reason to find work and to find, fulfillment in what you do, but not leave them enough money that they can just go be playboys for their entire life and, live on a yacht. So I think that's
Are we allowed to say that word?
Playboys? Yeah, we did.
Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the complexities of managing your wealth? You're not alone. At Hixon Zuercher Capital Management, we specialize in helping affluent families and individuals navigate the complex challenges of managing their finances. Wealth management is all about combining thoughtful financial planning with active investment management to help you reach your goals. Our process is designed to guide you toward what truly matters because we believe wealth isn't the destination. It's a vehicle for something much more meaningful in your life. Achieving your dreams requires careful planning, smart decision-making, and access to high-quality investments. That's where we come in. We understand that complex financial situations call for deep expertise in investing, tax strategies, and retirement planning. But our approach goes beyond that. We integrate your financial goals with your core values, helping you visualize the possibilities your wealth can create for a secure future. If you're ready to take the next step, visit hzcapital.com/start to see if we'd fit into your needs and to schedule a call with us. Again, that's hzcapital.com/start. Now let's get back to today's episode.
So next comes the discussion that my financial planning peers were all here for.
Yep.
And that is, how do you do this? Because there are ways that you can structure this to incentivize your money being put to good use. So let's talk about maybe some trust or estate planning tools that are practical.
Yeah, so that is the first one. So one is the communication, so everybody's on the same page. Then the second is, how do I structure it to make sure that's most likely to play out? And from an inheritance standpoint or just a wealth transfer, trusts give you the most flexibility and also the longest control on those assets. And so trusts are great in that you can do just about anything within them based on the wordage you put in that trust. You can limit their ability to access the funds through certain criteria. They have to hit certain ages or accomplish certain things. You can have trustees over top that have to verify those withdrawals match the needs. So there's a lot to do with trust, but that's a great way of solidifying those desires and putting it in a spot that someone will have to be mindful of following.
Right.
And people, always have those staggered ages. Like you can get money when you're 25 or 30, 35, etc. And I do think, though, that people spend too much time focusing on their own kids. Like, I don't want my kid to do anything with the money until they're 20 or 30. The vast majority of the time, those trust rules will never come into play because you're going to live a long life and your kids will have far surpassed those ages by the time the trust comes into use. So I think people should put a lot more thought and direction actually towards the next generation, the grandkids, because that's actually when the trust will be really used. For your own kids, you're still alive for those ages. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. There's also the concept of incentive trusts. So they have to meet a certain criteria in order to release the money. Have y'all seen that in action? I don't think I have.
I've seen a couple, but not as often as the age. I think the age is kind of the easy. Common. Let's just wait till they're older and they'll be more mature with money. But I've seen some where, you have to have done this to get it.
Well, a big example I just saw.
Education.
So Shaquille O'Neal, very wealthy guy.
Yeah. Very tall.
He's very tall, very wealthy.
He likes pizza.
He likes pizza. He is Papa John, right?
Papa John.
But he's almost a billionaire, if not billionaire status by now. He's pretty darn close. He's doing well. He has a lot of businesses. He's got kids. You think he's got 4 or 5 kids. His rule for them, incentive trust thinking, is that they don't get access to the Shaquille O'Neal money, which is a lot of money, until they have a master's degree.
Oh, well, there you go.
So he wants his kids to have worked and done a lot of good work and earned something before they have access to, obviously, some serious resources. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And I think, outside of a trust, or maybe you look and say, I don't know if my assets are enough to justify a trust. Well, then again, going back to that mission statement or kind of the values, writing that down and put it with your estate documents, it's not legally binding, but at least gives them that starting direction point to say, here's what I think where things should go.
It's the ultimate clear communication, which is what it all comes back to. I mean, what is more clear than like a 1-sentence mission statement that you see in your documents, right?
Always use coupons, right?
I think another thing that trust can be used for is the negative side of things, where like you could disincentivize bad behavior. You could write things in there so that people who are doing things that are against your will don't get certain funds. Instead of you have to do this to get it. If you are doing this, you don't get it. And I think that can also be probably positively and negatively used. But I think it's a powerful tool that if you have a kid who's just terrible with money or a gambling addict as a child, like you could restrict that. And I think that's a healthy thing.
Yes.
So something else to consider there. Anything else from you guys?
I will say, because of this whole conversation of that next generation or even 2 generations out, having an independent trustee removes the pressure of siblings have to make decisions for each other, for kids. If you have an independent trustee that can just follow the language of the trust, it separates that emotional of, I'm playing off of, mom, you were mom's favorite and that's why you're doing this or whatever. Having somebody come in that's just going to follow the rules and doesn't have that association sometimes alleviates the pressure from some of the other siblings that they're not playing this back and forth game.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you for listening to our episode on leaving or not leaving your kids some money, but hopefully how to do it well if you do.
The answer? Leave
the answer
your kids
was
money?
It depends.
It's always my answer.
It's always Josh's answer.
But the key is leave a legacy, not just.
That's right. That's right. Yes,
that's
absolutely.
a good summary statement.
So, hashtag write that down. If you found value in our conversation, don't forget to visit our website at thewealthmindsetshow.com. You'll be able to see all of our resources that we have on the website there. So you can see show notes and links and all kinds of stuff. That's really cool. But don't forget to subscribe because we publish episodes frequently, and that way you don't miss them when they come out. And always feel free to check out hzcapital.com if you have any questions about Hixon Zuercher Capital Management, where we all get the joy of calling our employment home. And follow us on social media because we post there frequently and we'd love to stay connected. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and we will talk next episode.
Right, thanks. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us at the Wealth Mindset Show, where we tackle the complexities of finance and life planning to help you align your wealth with your values. We hope today's conversation provided value and clarity as you navigate your financial journey. Your hosts work for Hixon Zuercher Capital Management, and all opinions expressed by them or any podcast guest are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment, and any investor attempting to mimic index performance would incur fees and expenses that could reduce returns. Securities investing involves risks, including the potential loss of principal, and there is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.